Well, it looks like Kang might actually be leaving, as in he may no longer be our big bad of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this would most likely mean, based off of reports that we have heard from Variety, that Doctor Doom would come into the MCU and take his place. Now, what's really interesting is that no matter what happens, if Doom really does replace Kang in the MCU as the big bad, I don't think Doctor Doom is going to be attached to the Fantastic Four project at all. And in fact, in the Multiverse Saga, at least, before it ends, he might not really be a Fantastic Four villain, but just an overall Avengers villain. Which is fine, because literally, in both iterations of Avengers Secret Wars, he's the villain. And he actually becomes God Emperor Doom, which is something that I really hope that we see in the MCU. And the way that they could debut Doctor Doom could be really great, because it would make him the big bad of this saga, but it would also make it to where he doesn't go away after this saga ends, and he could stick around for phase 7, for phase 8, phase 9, however long Marvel Studios wants to keep him around, because we definitely want Doctor Doom in the MCU for a very long time. Now, as far as Marvel Studios getting rid of Kang goes, this was reported a few days ago that Marvel writer Jeff Loveness, who wrote Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, who was supposed to write Avengers Kang Dynasty, is no longer attached to the project. And according to insider Joanna Robinson, who is one of the co-authors of MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios, a book in which they took the time to interview over 100 different people involved with Marvel Studios to write the book, she came out and said that this is because they are moving away from Kang in the MCU. And this came not too long after the report from Variety stating that Marvel Studios might be considering replacing Kang with Doctor Doom. And then yesterday, it was reported by Deadline that Kang Dynasty director Destin Daniel Cretton departs as the director from the Avengers film. And now everybody is kind of thinking the same thing, that this kind of confirms that they are indeed moving away from Kang Dynasty and making it a different Avengers film. The writer for the Kang movie is gone, and the director for the Kang movie is gone, but Destin Daniel Cretton is sticking around still to direct Shang-Chi 2 and other films and shows like Wonder Man, which is kind of suspicious. It makes us think that they really did change the story, which is why he's no longer attached to it. It's not the same story. So it does kind of seem like that is what is happening. Now, how could this be possible as far as the story and continuity goes in the MCU? Well, I've talked about it a little bit in some other videos, but we'll dive in depth in this video. And it's actually quite simple. And although I do not want Kang or Jonathan Majors out of the MCU, the thought of Doom coming in a very specific way, the way that I believe they'll do it, really does excite me. So let's first talk about Kang. It was revealed a few months ago that Kang was never really intended to be the main big bad of the Multiverse Saga. And honestly, in order to do all of the stories that we've gotten so far in the Multiverse Saga, including the ones that really connect to the multiverse like Loki Season 2, Spider-Man No Way Home, Kang did not actually have to be the villain. However, what we learned is that Kevin Feige, once he saw Jonathan Majors' performance in Loki Season 1 and in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, decided to make Kang the big bad because he was so impressive. And he was amazing as He Who Remains in Loki Season 1. He was also amazing as Victor Timely and He Who Remains again in Loki Season 2. And he really was fantastic in Quantumania. There was some bad writing that was involved with that movie. That was not his fault. It's not Jonathan Majors' fault that they decided to have his character be beaten by an army of ants. A man who has literally conquered entire worlds, many worlds, and killed many Avengers, so many that he forgot the names of all the Avengers because they blended together, was defeated by ants. Terrible, but that wasn't his fault. The point is, he was awesome, and every time he was on the screen, you really felt his presence. So Marvel took whatever plans that they had originally for some big bad in the MCU, and they tossed them aside and made Kang the main villain. Then all of the stuff happened with Jonathan Majors, the actor who plays Kang the Conqueror. He was arrested and charged with several cases of assault against his now ex-girlfriend, and he is currently going to trial to defend himself to prove that he is innocent, which him and his legal team have been stated the entire time since this happened. In fact, they have stated that he is actually the victim. And I've said it before, but kudos to Marvel Studios for waiting to make a decision about him instead of just firing him like some other people did right when they heard the the allegations. However, and unfortunately, Jonathan Majors' trial has been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. He's pretty much just like the other projects in the MCU. The beginning of his trial has been pushed back many times, and Marvel Studios is kind of pressed for time right now. They need to decide the direction of where they're going to go with the MCU, and it sounds like they might have ran out of time and decided to move on. Despite whatever happens in the trial, they may have decided it's time. So that begs the question, how exactly are they going to get rid of Kang when they've set him up in such a big way, especially after Loki Season 2? Well, I've mentioned this before, but Loki Season 2 actually leaves everything pretty open, literally for anything to happen. You could get rid of Kang or dive further into the threat of Kang. The TVA now has one job: monitor Kang, delete Kang, prune Kangs from these timelines when he rises to power. You can go two ways with this. One, Kang is becoming too strong. There are too many variants. We can't monitor them all. We can't prune them all. They have figured out time travel. They exist outside of space and time now. We can't monitor them. They're too strong. A huge multiversal war is coming. We need to prepare an Avengers team. One that consists of members of heroes from every universe you can imagine. That's one way you could go, and I would love to see this happen. I really would. And if they decide to keep Kang, that is how it's going to happen. But if they decide to move away from Kang, then they simply state that the TVA did an amazing job. The TVA, along with the help of Loki, is so good at their jobs that anytime any type of Kang comes to power or begins to come to power, they delete him right away. They get rid of him and the threat is gone. It's pretty simple, and that would mean while they're monitoring Kang, they're not really trying to look for anybody else that could possibly be coming to power via multiverse travel or time travel. Enter Dr. Doom. That is kind of a flaw of the new TVA. If you're only looking out for Kang, other threats could slip by. But here's the thing, Dr. Doom is one of the smartest characters to ever exist in the Marvel Universe. He could definitely understand time travel, and keep in mind, Dr. Doom doesn't necessarily have to be from our 616 universe. In fact, in the 838 universe, which we saw in Multiverse of Madness that had Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four, we saw Reed Richards use some sort of a teleportation device. So clearly, that universe seemed to be a little bit more advanced than ours. So Dr. Doom could very well come from a different universe as well. In fact, he might even come from the 838 universe itself. And there's many ways you can do this. You can have him create the technology himself. You could have him steal it from Reed Richards, or you could have him even steal it from Kang, which he kind of does in Secret Wars. He gets the power of the Beyonder, and he actually brings Kang back to life in one of the Secret Wars stories, so he can kind of control time for him. So there's a lot of ways that they can bring in Doom here. However, I don't think Doom is going to come from the Fantastic Four universe, because from what we've heard, the Fantastic Four are also going to be coming from a different universe, not the 616 universe. If the rumors are true, and they do this, they set the Fantastic Four movie in a different universe back in time in the 60s, then they should not bring in Dr. Doom from that universe. One, the time travel technology probably won't really exist then unless he somehow got it from Kang. But from what we've heard about kind of how the Fantastic Four might end is that they fail to save their universe, and the TVA basically shows up to save them, and they take them to the one universe where they're keeping all of the other saved heroes. If this happens, they're probably not saving Dr. Doom. And the villain of the movie is reportedly going to be Galactus and some heralds, which means Doom could come from a different universe, which I really like because he could go on to be the main villain and he could be defeated, but then another variant of Doom could pop up post Secret Wars. That way we don't just get rid of him all of a sudden. I hope he goes on to be just like Loki. I hope he is the new Loki. He shows up a lot and gets better and better every time you see him, and ultimately he could go on to be a big bad again. Or you could have him go back and forth between good and bad. There are a lot of stories to where Doom actually chooses to fight with the heroes. And there's great stories where he interacts with other heroes, like Doctor Strange and him going to the Hell Dimension to try to save his mother, going to fight Mephisto. And since Mephisto is coming to the MCU, I would personally really love to see this story. Or you could go straight up Secret Wars comic route. We heard that the main villain of the Multiverse Saga, the main Kang, Prime Kang, was going to be sort of a Beyonder variant. Kang and the Beyonder mixed into one. Well, that would kind of be perfect because you could just simply introduce that variant soon and then have Doom take his powers and become God Emperor Doom. And then bam, you're done. He is insanely powerful. No one's stronger than him. No Kangs are stronger than him. Him, along with the TVA, basically gets rid of Kangs. But then the multiverse has a new problem. They have God Emperor Doom taking over and controlling the multiverse, and that's where our Avengers team would come together and go fight him. So as you can see, it's very possible. And since the writer and the director for Kang Dynasty have now left the project, the reports do seem to be backed up now that Marvel Studios is simply changing the project to not be Kang focused. So we could have an Avengers Doctor Doom movie on our hands pretty soon. And if this happens, let me know what you think about this. I think it's bittersweet. I am really looking forward to Jonathan Majors and Kang and all the variants being in Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty, but if they move away, Doctor Doom is a pretty great direction to move into. One of the greatest Marvel villains of all time. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you can stay up to date on everything. And if you subscribe and leave a comment, you're automatically entered in our giveaway for a chance to win a PS5, an Xbox Series X, some Marvel Legends items, or some DC items. The winner picks one item and we pick one winner at the end of each month. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter as well. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.